Now, there's a new analysis out by the Tax Policy Center, and it has some very interesting results. Now, of course, a few months ago, the Trump administration had released a little outline of what they would like to see in the tax code, some of the changes that they would like to do. Now, again, this is a very loose outline without a lot of specifics, but nonetheless, the Tax Policy Center, they went and took a look at it and said, okay, we're going to see what we can do to extrapolate some of the data and see how much this will cost and who this tax plan will benefit the most. So they did that, and they just released it earlier today. Now, they found that in this outline, the Trump tax reform bill would actually cut federal revenue as much as $7.8 trillion over the next 10 years. They also found that the benefits would go almost exclusively to the top, not 1%, but 5% of income earners. Now, well, color me surprised. A Republican tax plan that benefits mostly rich people. No. Didn't see that one coming. We knew. Now, they found that even if the plan included some very large tax hikes on the middle class to offset the cuts, things like personal exemptions and other common deductions, and also eliminate some of the loopholes, like they always claim is going to happen, and even if they take into account the supposed dynamic growth effect, like, oh, we're going to get 3% of growth. No, you're not, dude. No, you're not. So even if they take all that great stuff, all the good stuff that they're forecasting into this, the cost still comes to $3.4 trillion over the next 10 years. So what they're doing is that their giant tax cuts are still, even with in the best case scenario, is going to add $3.4 trillion to the debt, to the deficit. Oh, what are you talking about, the deficit? I don't want to hear a Republican, if they talk about this, they want to pass this bill, I don't want to hear them ever talk about deficits ever again. And again, that's assuming that they get rid of loopholes. Okay, best case scenario. Now, not only that, but the cost would even be greater once you take into account the interest we would have to pay on the debt. So there's your cost, right? Already not looking so good for this tax plan. But again, it gets worse. Who does it benefit the most and how? Again, I mentioned that it would benefit the top 5% the most. So, but let's do a more in-depth breakdown of that, okay? Because again, they're selling this as tax relief for everyone. So again, the poor people, they're going to get a tax cut too. Well, let's explore how much. Now, the package the Tax Policy Center finds would overwhelmingly help the wealthy, as I had mentioned before. Including the tax hikes, the overall plan would give the average family earning $25,000 per year a total of, get this, so poor people, make sure that you can factor this into your budget. Poor people get an extra $40. Ooh, $40. Wow, you can go see a movie or something, or eat at a place that's slightly more fancy than McDonald's. $40. That is just a 0.3% boost in after-tax income. $40. So that's for people making under $25,000 a year. So those people are obviously pretty poor. Now, how much does it benefit the rich? Well, the top 0.1% earning above $3.4 million a year would get an average tax cut of $937,700, or a 13.3% boost in after-tax income. Well, there you go. Gee, I wonder why the Republicans keep pushing these tax cuts. I can't quite tell. More details, right? Now, what they're planning to do and how to achieve this is that they're planning on eliminating a lot of the income tax brackets, essentially taking what's a progressive tax system and turning it into a regressive tax system with 3 tax brackets, a 10%, 25%, and 35%. Now, they also plan to double the standard deduction, which would, of course, benefit people who are wealthier, from $12,000 to $24,000 for couples. They would also repeal the alternative minimum tax, which, if I recall, that's actually, since Donald Trump claimed a lot of losses and a lot of bankruptcy on some of his tax forms, the only reason that he actually had to pay some tax on that is because of the alternative minimum tax. He had so many deductions. Now, it also would help Trump by repealing the estate tax and the 3.8% Obamacare tax on investment income for the rich. Now, it would also, for regular people, add a deduction for childcare expenses. And the big one, of course, is it would cut corporate taxes from 39% to 15%. That's the big one. That's what they've been trying to do. They want to cut the corporate taxes. That is the whole point of this. And look, that's what's in the bill. We're going to cut corporate taxes. We're going to cut it down to 15%. Not only that, but it would treat what they call pass-through income as corporate income, which is only taxed at 15% rather than individual rates. It would also exempt foreign income from a corporate tax, and you'll love this, impose a one-time repatriation tax on assets U.S. companies hold overseas. Now, look, we already tried that before during the Bush years. Even George W. Bush was like, boy, we got screwed on that one. Let me tell you what, we ain't going to do that again. No, because it's essentially what it does is that they did a study on what happened when Bush did this repatriation tax, and they found out that these companies had promised, oh, we're going to bring back jobs if you just let us have our money, right? We're going to hire more people. We're going to invest in our workforces and all that stuff. And what did they do? They actually ended up doing stock buybacks and layoffs. Gone. So they laid off thousands of people after they got this giant wave of money imported from, of course, their, like tax havens in the Cayman Islands, and Ireland, etc. They brought all this money back, and they did great jobs with it. They just boosted their own stock prices. And now we're going to do that again. It was described by Bush people again as a boondoggle. And here we want to do that again. So that's so far the Republican plan. They're going to give the corporations an enormous tax cut. The richest companies on earth, of course, getting a bigger break, and they're going to bring back all this money, and they're just going to enrich themselves. I don't know if that's what Trump meant by make America great again. I'm just saying, I know of a real way to make America great again. Actually, go back to what we used to have back in the 1950s, our tax rates. You know what those tax rates were on corporations and the rich? Over 90%. They didn't pay 90% on all of their earnings, obviously, but it was marginal tax rates. And that's, of course, what a lot of people don't understand when we talk about taxes. They think, oh, my God, a 50% tax rate, oh, they're taking half my income? No, it's only over a certain amount. And that gets, any dollar over that gets taxed at 50%. Again, a lot of people don't understand that whole thing because it's not explained very well. So that's what I try to do here. So that's what we have. Now, again, according to the report, this is going to cost $7.8 trillion total, and it's going to have a $3.4 trillion budget shortfall, deficit left over. Now, the costly elements, according to the Tax Policy Center, are the corporate rate tax cut, $2.3 trillion over 10 years, so that's the majority of it. The individual rate cuts, $2 trillion, and the new lower rate for pass-through income, also $2 trillion. Now, pass-through companies are, of course, owner-operated businesses whose profits are taxed as individual income. Now, they happen to be overwhelmingly owned by people who are very wealthy. So cutting the top rate on income from them from 39.6% under current law to 15% under Trump's plan is a huge regressive cut. It would also encourage, according to Vox, tax evasion by spurring high-income people to stop earning wages for their employers and instead form pass-through businesses that their employers can pay instead in order to take advantage of this new 15% rate. Now, this plan, of course, involves tax increases. Now, wait a minute. I thought this was the tax cut plan. Well, it cuts taxes on the rich, but it's got to raise some revenue, right? Well, where are they going to get it? They're going to get it from you. They're not going to get it from the rich. They're going to get it from the middle class. Now, these tax increases would raise about $4.3 trillion over 10 years. It's far short of the $7.8 trillion in cuts for the rich. So, the Tax Policy Center found that when you look at the combined effects of the cuts and revenue raisers, 76.3% of the benefits end up going to the top just 1%, and 94.8% go to the top 5%. And of course, the rest gets borne by the middle class. The middle class ends up paying most of the taxes. As Vox notes, getting rid of the head of household filing status and personal exemptions that are in this outline, the tax increases will overwhelmingly impact the middle class. So there you have it. The middle class gets taxed more, the rich get taxed less, and of course the poor get an extra $40. Wow. Pittance to the poor. Also, they can redistribute wealth to the top. Make no mistake. Like, Republicans talk about tax redistribution. Oh my God, redistribution is so bad. What do you think taxes are? Taxes are redistribution. And what we're seeing with our current tax code, or with the Trump tax plan, is a massive redistribution from the middle class to the rich. That's what this is all about. This is all about saving Donald Trump and his wealthy donors and Congress's wealthy donors billions of dollars in taxes. That's not going to make America better. It's not going to make America great again. It's not going to solve the budget problem. It's not, look, you could cut all day, but you're still not going to have enough to cover for these tax cuts, and that's not going to create growth. That 3% bullshit that he's talking about, that's not going to happen. You actually get economic growth when you start investing in the middle class, when you actually start investing in the country. We're not doing that. What we're doing is that we're doing the complete opposite of that. And that shows in this plan. Now, whether or not this plan becomes a reality, we'll see. But these are their priorities, man. This is exactly what Donald Trump and the Republican Party wanted to do. That's what they've wanted to do the entire time. So they wanted to screw you over in order to help their wealthy donors. Now you know. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this video. If you want to see more like this, please hit the subscribe button below. And if you want to support truly independent progressive media, please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/TYTNation.